So if you look at the whole API economy, there is a lot of convergence happening across industries. Now, if you see a telco or a retail or an automobile, everybody is interconnected in some form and fashion, and they are using each other's APIs. To give you a simple example, the payments API from banks is being consumed by retail, a telco, or a automobile industry.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Let's Get Real with APIs. Today we want to talk about the future of API economy. With the increasing rise of APIs, there's an increasing need of API ecosystem players, and more enterprises are investing on the API ecosystem products. So to talk about more about this, we have two gentlemen who are front runners, on the on the sales. Let's hear from them. We have Damanjeet and Jishnu. Damanjeet, why don't we start a quick introduction from you?
Hey Bharat, thanks for having me here. I'm Daman. I manage sales globally for DAC. I've been talking to multiple banks and financial services across the globe, wherein I'm trying to solve complex problems coming from APIs. So yeah, I've been talking to CIOs, CXOs, all the key decision makers around APIs, and I'll be talking about the problems and challenges banking and financial institutions are facing at this point.
So you focus more on financial institutions and banks?
Yes,
Okay.
that's my core strength. So yeah, I've been talking to these guys.
Okay. So what is their strategy? The current API strategy. What are they looking to buy?
Right. So it's not about, if you look 3 to 5 years back, mostly banks and financial institutions were talking about aggregating their APIs, but they have shifted this to more into a market-based approach, where it's not just aggregation, but it's more of an API lifecycle management, where discoverability plays a vital role. Now, if you look one step ahead, they're even trying to monetize these APIs with complex pricing models. And they're trying to integrate with various third parties, billing systems, and payment gateways to monetize and generate alternate revenue streams. So that's the area they are going towards.
So can we say that developers and third parties are the new consumers, are the new customers for the banks?
Absolutely. So fintech has always been their bread and butter. Initially, banks were very close to themselves, restricted selling their core APIs, their banking services like lending, payments. But now they understood that it's very important to onboard fintechs and third-party players, right? So the fintechs comes with a lot of more innovative products where they are consuming bank APIs, and then bundle these product offerings to have a core revenue sharing model, take it to the end customers. So yeah, fintechs and third parties are vital players at this point in time.
So I'll come back to the fintechs and third parties. Let's go back a little bit about the regulatory, right?
Yeah.
It's been about 4 or 5 years since the regulatory is in place now. That regulatory has played a kickoff role in getting all the banks investing on an API marketplace, third party, public APIs,
Right.
growing their own ecosystem, right? Allowing fintechs to connect to the banks, do all the cross-border payments, making it much more easier and simpler. What is the next journey? Where is this bank investing beyond regulatory here?
It's an interesting question. Now, I would like to touch upon a few examples. If you look at Europe and UK, the open banking came like 3, 4, 5 years back, where there was a regulatory push to open their payments and accounts APIs. Now, this has gone one step ahead, and the regulatory requirement has been catered to with sandboxes and the APIs being exposed. But now they are looking into open finance. Now, open finance has opened plethora of use cases for banks and financial institutions to co-innovate and come together. So these markets are far matured in their journey, but when you look at different markets, different geos, few markets like Australia, Canada, they are still picking up the API, the open banking journey. And it's a huge market, I would say. And there are a lot of innovation opportunities coming in. And APIs are just enablers. Without APIs, ITs will be still sitting on monolithic platforms, which will not help them to mobilize their whole journey.
So beyond fintechs, you mentioned regulatory is kind of helping banks to innovate much more faster. Because of the regulation, they have to do certain things, and they have to set up an API platform. They have to expose APIs. They have to standardize those API specifications as per the regulatory standards. Beyond fintech, beyond this regulatory, Do you see beyond fintech, are there more third parties coming in connecting to the banks?
Yes, absolutely. There is a so if you look at the whole API economy, there is a lot of convergence happening across industries. Now, if you see a telco or a retail or an automobile, everybody is interconnected in some form and fashion, and they are using each other's APIs. To give you a simple example, the payments API from banks in being consumed by retail, a telco, or a automobile industry. And that's the simplest way to monetize, to complete a monetary transaction, right? There are a lot of use cases which I can talk about, but yes, there is a cross-industry convergence, and third parties are just not restricted to a fintech. It's industry-wide.
So how is this conversion happening? Is it, are we speaking, can you give us some examples there?
Yeah, so I would stick to fintech example for this point in time. If you look at a lot of players in the fintech industry, I would quote an example of Paytm, for example. Their core business is
There's no regulatory in India, but
there's
still,
no regulatory, but still
those are
India is already an open economy. Without regulation, we are open, right? Now, players like fintech, their core business is not banking, right? They are just a payment wallet. Now, if you see, they are providing value-added services like lending, buy now, pay later. So what they have done is they are consuming APIs from different lenders, white labeling it, and selling it to their end customers.
What does this mean? You use the term, white labeling banking API.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
What does it mean?
So yeah, there is a radical shift now. Banks initially were happy selling their core services. Now with a lot of third parties opening up their APIs, bank has understood that collaboration is the only way forward. Otherwise, they will lose the buzz of getting a revenue share coming out of these APIs. So they have exposed their core banking offerings to these fintech players, which ultimately the end customer doesn't know whose banking services I'm using, and this fintech player is the front end to it. So yeah, it's a good collaboration model with a revenue share and sharing happening internally, and yeah, it's a win-win situation for both the parties.
Yeah, I can see both. Both at retail banking, there's innovation happening. There's a commercial banking. There's a lending, etc. There's always there's APIs being consumed by these third parties, right? And it's not happening just in the Europe or US or any other regulatory markets. It's actually happening in India.
Yes.
Though there's no regulatory in India.
Right.
I mean, Indian financial whole system, the payment system is much more innovative, and actually is being looked by other countries to actually replicate the kind of payment system that we have. I mean, it's a great success story. We all know that.
Yeah.
So how is this the new economy that is driven by APIs, right? Third parties coming in, and third parties are actually becoming the more central focus, for more key initiatives for the CIOs, right?
Yes.
So what are the CIOs' current challenges? That you hear. You speak to them quite often, in your sales process. I mean, with all of these initiatives, that is happening around APIs, the marketplace, ecosystem players, etc. What is their current challenges today?
Yeah, if you look from a business perspective, there are a couple of challenges which I want to list out here. Is first, how can you drive a business value or a ROI from the APIs that has been developed? There is no ROI being attached to it. That monetary value is not coming up.
It's very hard to achieve.
It's very hard to achieve, and CIOs are struggling for that. And then secondly, the time to market.
Yeah.
You are sitting on tons of APIs, but you don't know how to expose it.
Yeah.
You don't know how to discover it.
Yeah.
Right? So these are challenges. You don't have a unified platform.
There's an automation tool because there are scale of APIs
Yes.
there. There are like thousands of APIs.
Right.
And we were talking to one of the largest banks in the UK. That was like a couple of years ago. And on the right hand side, they have a huge number of apps, lending apps, retail apps, all the macro applications that they're creating. And the left hand side, they have APIs. Discoverability is not there.
Right.
All of these are waiting for APIs. But yet, there are APIs being developed. It's not discoverable. Yeah. So
yeah, while everybody is sitting on tons of APIs, the deriving a value out of these APIs is still a question, right? So what I feel personally is API is a fuel to foster innovation, and without APIs, IT will be moving forward with least innovation, least collaboration, and the flexibility what API gives from a monolithic to a microservices-led architecture drives you to have multiple facets to look at.
Okay, yeah. You mentioned about the co-innovation, right? So let's talk about the co-innovation, right? So now let's hear some real-time partners and channel partners. You mentioned about ATM, right? You mentioned about lending, etc.
Yes.
So beyond this, do you see convergence with the telco?
Yeah, telco and banking convergence have been for ages now. But there is a different angle to look at. Now,
And then even autos are coming, in the picture.
yes.
Readers are coming in the
Right,
picture.
right.
Yeah.
I want to touch upon how the banks are looking from in next 3 to 5 years, how they are looking themselves, how they are looking at themselves, right? They are moving to an everyday bank approach. When I talk about everyday bank, uh, again, core services are restricted. They are moving to touch the lives of their customer in every facet. Starting from booking a dinner table to buying a house or an automobile, everything you have one single super app for all your customer needs, right? And in the event of doing so, banks will end up consuming APIs across the industry. The space is huge. The opportunities are immense, right? And that's where we are moving towards.
Excellent. Great points, Daman. I think we're all we know that banking are moving at an amazing speed. Innovating with and then they've realized more than ever that API investments are crucial.
Absolutely.
For their growing new channels of revenues. New ecosystem players are one of their will become one of their key partners. To increase the channels of revenues. Yeah, great points, sir. And thank you for coming to the podcast.
Thanks. Pleasure meeting you.
We just heard from Damanjeet about how financial institutions and bank are actually investing and made their the key focus on creating this ecosystem players and how this is actually fueling the new age API economy, new revenue channels and new revenue opportunities for the banks and financial institutions. Let's shift the discussion of API economy towards telco, and to talk about that, we have Jishnu. Let's have an introduction from Jishnu, and let's hear from him, his experience, what the industry leaders are actually looking at an API strategy that is aligned towards paving the way to the API economy. Let's hear from Jishnu. Jishnu, why don't we start with an introduction, and welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks so much for inviting me to this podcast, and would love to talk more about APIs and share some insights and experiences. So
tell us about what you've been doing over the last 2 years.
Yeah, sure. So, Bharat, I'm heading the API product strategy for Detail API Craft. So basically, I'm an API enthusiast. I work with enterprises across the globe. I advise them how to leverage APIs to accelerate their digital transformation efforts, and helping them how to accelerate API adoption, build an effective API strategies to succeed in this economy, right? That's my role is. In this role, I have had the opportunity to talk to many strategic leaders in the industry, especially from banking, telcos, healthcare. Those are like regulatory-driven industry, right? So that's my role, and that's what I do. So I would like to talk more about that in the coming session.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that introduction. And you have a lot of interaction with telco most recently, right? And telcos are actually getting into the next set of revolution, which is 5G is happening in the world of telco. And they're all looking at multiple angles of revenue opportunities. And APIs has never been the more important aspect for them. And having an API economy in playing a crucial role in the 5G. So what do you see? Let's talk about what are the strategies. The 5G is still not out fully in the market, but they're all looking at very seriously about 5G and APIs. Let's talk about the API strategy in the world of telco.
Sure, Bharat. So let me talk about the industry, right? I mean, like any other vertical, telcos and CSPs are also kind of undergoing massive transformation, right? They are also leveraging API. They are also doing a lot of opening up or building open ecosystems to kind of connect with partners and customers and build new business models, like any other vertical, right? So API, if I talk to many leaders, right, they are all realizing the potential of APIs, and they are more and more companies are joining the API economy these days, right? So in order to compete in this very competitive landscape, they also understand that they need to build their ecosystem model, like it's called ecosystem model, I would say. It's kind of helping them, or it kind of helping them to create new revenue opportunities, or it can help them accelerate innovation, like create enhanced customer experiences, right? They know that they need to build that ecosystem, right?
In the world of telco, who are these third parties? Can
So,
you give us some examples?
Sure, sure. So in this 5G era, if you look at that, right, this acceleration, right, it's happening by actually supported by the source of emerging technologies. I would say IoTs, AI, VR,
Drone.
AR, anything, right?
Drone applications.
Yeah, drone applications, right? So it is actually supported by these kind of emerging technologies, and this is actually a really interesting use case. 5G with IoT, right? There are a lot of applications that are developed in IoT community, right? I mean, a lot of IoT developers, I mean, they wanted to build new age applications, and they wanted to bring that connectivity to their end user, right? So it is an opportunity for the CSPs and telcos as well, right?
Correct.
They can expose the APIs, they can expose the APIs to these partners. They
When
can,
you say CSPs, maybe you want to elaborate a little bit on that. The CSPs are more operators,
operators, right? It can be anything. Any communication service providers can be a CSPs, right?
and they expose API. No, they can. Okay.
They expose APIs to the external world, right?
And they want to do it with the help of with all the 5G infrastructure.
Fine, you're right. So if you look at OTT players, right, Netflix or any other entertainment OTT players, and if you look at tower companies, right, even service providers, enterprises, anyone, right, in the industry can leverage this 5G to bring that connected world, right? They all wanted to build that connected experiences. It's world is getting more smarter, right? Smart homes, smart cities. So the opportunity for 5G is like
Yeah.
unlimited, I would say.
Yeah. It looks like there's a big strategy to go initiate and implement
Yeah.
for any digital strategist at a CSPs, right?
Right.
I think it is all these initiatives are great, but you need a different you need a whole platform to execute this.
Yeah, exactly.
You need an API platform. You need a underneath you need to have the 5G infrastructure,
Right.
both hardware and software,
Right.
and it has to have a network as a code
Right.
that we are hearing in the world of telco.
Yes, right.
Network as a code, network as a service,
Network slicing.
and then networks as a slicing,
Yeah.
so that the CSPs can leverage this infrastructure
Yeah, exactly.
and provide and build that ecosystem on their own.
Oh, right.
Having CSPs and having third parties, as a bigger marketplace opportunities there.
Right.
And you mentioned from telco to IoT to drone applications,
Right.
and these are all catering to different industry like
Yes.
agriculture.
Yeah,
You want to talk about a little bit about
it's
that?
basically it's not, as I said earlier, right, it's not just about providing the connectivity, right? They are actually providing value-added services on top of this network, CSPs and telcos, right? So it can be catered to any industry segments. It is leveraged by, if you look at retail, healthcare, connected banking, connected health, connected retail, anything you can talk about, right? So in order to enable that connectivity or connected experiences, this is an opportunity for CSPs, right?
Yeah.
Everyone get their mutual
Correct.
thing, right?
It's a new economy, it's a new ecosystem players, that
right.
as we know, right? And and for this to have it, you need to have a right API strategy. You need to
Exactly.
have the right marketplace strategy here,
Right.
and you need to have a very powerful billing and monetization strategy.
Exactly.
Especially which is all happening around APIs.
APIs.
You need that. Maybe tell us some examples. Are you talking to any telcos who are actually looking at these kind of initiatives?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, right, I mean, everybody want to utilize this opportunity. I mean, this 5G real use cases, right? So I can talk about some of the examples. Many big giants, telecom giants in the industry, they all they feel that with 5G coming up, right, the new vectors are coming up. Like I said, mentioned, like analytics or mobility or IoT, right? These IoT devices, in a lot of IoT enabled devices, connected devices, right? So there is a huge demand for connectivity and edge computing, right? So CSPs and telcos are leveraging this connectivity to kind of enable that connected world. So it can kind of cater to all the industry segments, and it is actually creating new revenue models for all the CSPs and telcos, I would say, and it is an opportunity for them to build new strategies and build new business models.
Yeah, it looks like telcos and CSPs and they don't want to miss the bus of the 5G, and they want to play an active role here, which is actually fueling new API economy, which is all driven by APIs here. And the core infrastructure needed for is an API, is the right API strategy. As we talked about from Jishnu and Daman, having an API platform, having a right API runtime, having a consistent developer experience for all the public and partner APIs is going to be a key investment for enterprises to actually play and influence the whole API economy here. Again, thank you for coming to watching this podcast. Please do leave your comments in the section. Thank you.